Hello there. This is Heirs to the Kingdom channel, and today's lesson we're doing chapter 5 of Mark. We're going to be talking about the country of the Gadarenes. It's the title of this one. Probably has another title in here somewhere, but yeah, we're going to go into that land again, and it will be I think it's the land of some Gentiles, or on the outskirts of Israel. So if you are new to this, it's a Bible study channel going through the King James Bible. Don't skip anything as God commands. I do recommend starting off at Genesis chapter 1. We've did the Old Testament, and now we're in the second book of the New Testament. Now this chapter has 43 verses. There's only 16 chapters in the book of Mark, so far less than the book of Matthew. Let's go ahead and get started here. Hope everybody's having a good Wednesday. I still got church tonight, so doing my Bible study video before going to church, where I'm doing another Bible study. Our church is currently doing Job, which of course we done went through that, and some people kind of ask me, well, if you've already done that, why are you going to church doing it there? So I'm going to church to be with my fellow Christians there. That's why I go there. I don't really always go there just to hear scripture. I go there for the camaraderie of the congregation. That's why it's important to be a member of a church, but you want to be a member of a godly church, not a wicked one. That's why we study the gospel, so we know how to know a tree by the fruit it bears. So I've talked about this quite a few times before. So let's go ahead and get started here. Pretty straightforward reading. Shouldn't take too long. It'll be a short lesson. I did my little ranting on last video, so if you want to hear my ranting and stuff about society and the way things are going, go, do Mark chapter 4. If you didn't, watch it yesterday or whenever you're seeing this. So, chapter 5, verse 1. But yeah, from chapter 4 where we left off at, we left off of him calming the storm, because he was asleep in the ship and the storm came about. And the disciples were like, what kind of manner of man is this that could talk to the weather and it obey? So it's like the things they witnessed, guaranteed told them who he is. So this isn't just a man, this is the Son of God. So they were in the ship. Chapter 5, verse 1. And they came over unto the other side of the sea, into the country of the Gadarenes. And when he was come out of the ship, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling among the tombs. And no man could bind him, no, not with chains, because that he had been often bound with fetters and chains, and the chains had been plucked asunder by him, and the fetters broken in pieces, neither could any man tame him. And always, night and day, he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying and cutting himself with stones. And when he saw Jesus afar off, he ran and worshipped him, and cried with a loud voice, and said, What have I to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of the Most High God? I adjure thee by God that thou torment me not. For he said unto him, Come out of the man, thou unclean spirit. And he asked him, What is thy name? And he answered, saying, My name is Legion, for we are many. And he besought him such that he would not send them away out of the country. Now there was there nigh unto the mountains a great herd of swine feeding. And all the devils besought him, saying, Send us into the swine, that we may enter into them. And forthwith Jesus gave them leave, and the unclean spirits went out and entered into the swine. And the herd ran violently down a steep place into the sea. There were about 2,000, and were choked in the sea. I could not imagine being a person that was been, possessed by that many demons. For swine to run into the sea and kill themselves I would say there was probably one demon per swine. He said, we are legion, we are many. And it's like, so this poor man been possessed by all these demons, hasn't had rest or been in his right mind for years. Let's continue on to see the compassion of the people in the land. Chapter 4, verse 14. And they that fed the swine fled and told it to the city and in the country, and they went out to see what it was that was done. And they came to Jesus to see him that was possessed, and see him that was possessed with the devil, and had the legion, sitting and clothed, and in his right mind. And they were afraid. And they that saw it told them how it befell to him that was possessed with the devil, and also concerning the swine. And they began to pray him to depart out of their coasts. And when he was come into the ship, he that had been possessed with the devil prayed him that he might be with him. So the man possessed wanted to go with Jesus. The rest of the people were mad at Jesus because the pigs. Now, of course, I'm the type that says, well, they're only been in the water. Bring them out, do what you need to do, and start having a pig picking. You know, everybody gets to eat. Really good. You know, we got to go find more pigs elsewhere, but right now, everybody's going to eat really good. We're cooking a lot tonight. Ain't like they've been dead long. But they cared more about the pigs than they did their fellow man. Instead of thanking Jesus for what he's done, says, please talk to us more. We want to hear more from this great man. So now I said, will you please leave? Go away. We don't want you here. You messed with our pigs. They didn't care about that man at all. We have people like that, societies like that today in this world. No one cares for one another anymore. That's why it's in the 10 Commandments. Love thy neighbor. Well, I don't know if it's in the 10 Commandments, but the meaning of it is, as Jesus says, he leaves us with 2, love God with our heart, mind, and soul, and love others as you love yourself. Because he wants everybody to have compassion on one another. But a lot of people out there use that to pull at heartstrings and stuff like that to cheat people. So now you got to be very wise to see if they're real or not and what they're asking for. Let's continue on verse 19. Oh, the lesson from that is, Jesus later on says, you know, go spread the gospel, and those that don't want to hear and to ask you to leave, you leave. He says, but don't take none of the dirt with them. Don't take nothing of those people with them, and kick the dirt off your sandals as you leave the city. If it's the whole city that asks you to leave, it says, because that place would be condemned. That's what Jesus showed here. It's like, you know, they wanted me to leave. They didn't want to hear from me, so I did. God's not going to force you to obey or be a part of him or him a part of you. It's all voluntary. And like, do you want Christ or do you want the world? You got to make a choice. Verse 19. Howbeit Jesus suffered him not, but saith unto him, go home to thy friends, and tell them how great things the Lord hath done for thee, and hath had compassion on thee. And he departed and began to publish in Decapolis how great things Jesus had done for him, and all men did marvel. And when Jesus was passed over again by ship unto the other side, much people gathered unto him, and he was nigh unto the sea. And behold, there cometh one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus, by name, and when he saw him, he fell at his feet, and besought him greatly, saying, my little daughter lieth at the point of death. I pray thee, come and lay thy hands on her, that she may be healed, and she shall live. So here's if you're running a synagogue, that makes you one of the high priest of the area. Not the high priest, but one of the main priests of the area. He ran the synagogue. So here's one that, you know, didn't believe as the crooks in Jerusalem is. Let's continue on 24. And Jesus went with him, and much people followed him and thronged him. Yeah, I looked that word up just in case you didn't know. That means like, you're in a huge crowd and everybody's just, kind of touching one another. It's just a huge gathering of people, very congested. It's kind of like, so everybody was around him, bumping into him. It's like trying to hard, to get anywhere. Verse 25. And a certain woman which had an issue of blood 12 years, and had suffered many things of many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was nothing better, but rather grew worse, when she had heard of Jesus, came in the press behind, and touched his garment. Now for one, she was breaking the rules of Israel, because she was bleeding. Women that were in their menstrual cycle or bleeding like that, they were known as unclean and had to stay away from everybody else. That was Israelite law at the time. But she risked it all, even being stoned to death, just to go touch Jesus, to be healed, because she was tired. 12 years of this problem. 28. For she said, if I may touch but his clothes, I shall be whole. And straightway the fountain of her blood was dried up. And she felt in her body that she was healed of that plague. And Jesus, immediately knowing in himself that virtue had gone out of him, turned him about in the press, and said, Who touched my clothes? And the disciples said unto him, Thou seest the multitude thronging thee, and sayest thou, Who touched me? And he looked round about to see her that had done this thing. But the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what was done in her, came and fell down before him, and told him all the truth. So she came and confessed. That's what Jesus was asking. 34. And he said unto her, Daughter, thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace, and be whole of thy plague. While he yet spake, there came from the ruler of the synagogue's house certain which... Sorry for that little puppy getting hyper there. Came from the ruler of the synagogue's house certain which said, Thy daughter is dead. Why troublest thou the master any further? As soon as Jesus heard the word that was spoken, he saith unto the ruler of the synagogue, Be not afraid, only believe. And he suffered no man to follow him, save Peter and James and John, the brother of James. And he cometh to the house of the ruler of the synagogue, and seeth the tumult, and them that wept and wailed greatly. Tumults normally, I guess, like, people want to hang stuff up. From what I remember, it's like you had that one, like you'd make a wreath with the black thing on it. That would say like there's a death. If I remember correctly, that's what tumult is. I didn't really look it up, but it was something to indicate that there was a death. And people were weeping and wailed because of it. Verse 39. And when he was come in, he saith unto them, Why make ye this ado, and weep? The damsel is not dead, but sleepeth. And they laughed him to scorn. But he had put them all out. He taketh the father and the mother of the damsel, and them that were with him, and entereth in where the damsel was lied. And he took the damsel by the hand, and said unto her, Talitha cumi, which is being interpreted, Damsel, I say unto thee, arise. And straightway the damsel arose and walked, for she was of the age of 12 years. And they were astonished with a great astonishment. And he charged them straitly that no man should know it, and commanded that something should be given her to eat. And of course, you saw by the picture here on the next page that this is the end of the chapter. So, another chapter down. I probably could have did 2 chapters there, but whoa, 6 is quite long here. We got 56 verses, so yeah, no, we weren't going to do that. I'd rather have a shorter lesson than too long of a lesson. But yeah. Hope you're enjoying reading of Christ and what he did, how he walked the earth, and all the miracles that he performed. The word of Jesus spread so rapidly because people spoke against what the Pharisees were trying to hide. The word spread regardless. There were way too many witnesses of dead being raised, people being healed, and all manner of this, that the Pharisees couldn't contain it. Just within their own ranks did they were able to accomplish such an evil deed. But one day it's all going to be fixed. They're going to realize that Jesus is the Messiah, and that their ancestors crucified him, and they're going to worship him as well, asking for forgiveness. One day, a lot of Jewish people convert to Christianity all the time. Because the stories are still in those lands. Here in America, of course, we're not over there to hear these type of things from all these other lands of all these, books and stuff, and everything's been left over from people of, a couple thousand years ago now. But, yeah, in many ways, I would like to have been alive during those times to witness the miracles, but the hard lives that people had, I don't think I would have enjoyed that too much. Because if you think there's lawlessness going on today, far more lawlessness was going on then. So, sometimes we've got to be grateful for where we're at, regardless of what's going on. You are where you're meant to be, and you are where you want to be. If you're not serving Christ, that's because you don't want to. If you're serving the world, that's because you want to. Like people being faithful in relationships and unfaithful. It's always said, and goes, that person ain't with me, they're out with other people. And goes, they are where they want to be, which tells you everything about them. If they don't seek your company, you might want to find someone else that does. And if you can't find anybody, it's okay. But if you're a pain in the butt type person pushing people away, then you got a problem there too. You got to be a good person as the Bible commands you to be. You live like that, people will want to be around you. Maybe not everybody, but enough will want to. Unless you're just in the wrong area. That happens a lot too. That's why we pray. Pray that we are where we are supposed to be. My head even got tongue twisted trying to say that. Dyslexia kicked in bad and says, "Nope, halt, reverse, back up, do that again, slow it down." But we always pray. I want to make sure we're on the right path. Always pray. Pray for the lost, the found, yourself, others, governments, societies, judicial systems. You got to pray for the wicked as much as you pray for the good. I ain't praying that praying for the wicked doesn't mean that you're praying that they be more successful at being wicked, is that they quit being wicked. Praying for the good, that they stay good and don't turn back to wickedness. It's very easy to fall back into the world. Without steadily following the Lord, it's easy to do. It's just, that's your surroundings. You always got to pray. So, once again, hope everyone else has got a good church to go to. If not, I do recommend finding one. You may have to just go to a church, then next week go to another, then next week go to another. Just keep going to one till you kind of find one you like. But don't expect perfection in the church. It ain't going to happen. I said you're looking for godly people, not perfect people. Because no one can be perfect. They may do some things wrong, but if their heart's in the right place, that's a start. And that's where it always does that. There's a starting point and a path to be on. Who knows, maybe they're needing you there, and you might be called to be a leader in the church to help the church be on a better path. But remember the scriptures, what Jesus commands. If a pastor, deacon, and bishop can only be a man, it can only be a man of one wife, and he must have his house in order. So if you haven't mastered the things, it's kind of hard to help others master things. You ain't going to be perfect, but you do need to be, having your ducks in a row. But yeah, anyways, go ahead and end this lesson here. So until next time, God bless, good night, and goodbye.